As a multifamily broker, I get asked all the time, Beau, what's a great website or resource to go to that has all the information about rents and absorption and all the sale metrics and market economics and top employers? Well, I have two answers for you. If you invest in the northern half of Florida, my website, beaubeery.com, is the culmination of thousands and thousands of hours by me and my staff taking information from all different resources and putting them in easy to read formats with the type of information you need to dominate. The second answer is, even if you don't invest in the northern half of Florida, you're going to want to watch this entire video to see the type of information I have so that you can gather that same information for your market wherever you are in the US. And by doing so, when you can master all the different metrics I cover on this website, like an encyclopedia in your head, I promise you're going to dominate. All right, let's dive in. Let's go! Before we dive into all the insane amount of information available on my website, let me tell you how I get it in case you are in different markets. You're not going to like the answer because it's a lot of hard work. I have people who are 100% dedicated to getting this kind of information from me. The base of my information comes from property appraiser websites for every municipality that I cover. Many years ago, we exported every single asset that exists over 10 units, and we created all kinds of columns on a spreadsheet that we want. The name of the complex, address, number of units, bedrooms, age, type of construction, who owns it, what they paid for it, gross rent multiples when they sold, cap rates when they sold. All of this stuff has to be researched daily because properties are trading all the time. But property appraiser websites are the basis of all this information. Think about it. Property appraisers want to tax you. So every property that exists, they have the information on. Now, for those of you that are in markets or states in which the property appraiser website doesn't have that information publicly available, then you have to go to other resources like CoStar, Reese, LoopNet, and other paid subscriptions. Wherever it is you have to get the information, what I'm going to show you in my website is the kind of information you want to fill in through all these different resources so that when you master these metrics in my website, I promise you'll be able to react so fast to opportunities and close on more deals than your competition than you'll ever believe. This is my website, beaubeery.com, and this is the landing page. On the landing page, I do have a couple of fun stats. For instance, in the northern half of Florida, in the markets we cover, there's 1,976 apartment complexes over 10 units. There's only 877 over 100 units. Here's all the states from which the owners are based out of, which is interesting information, and you can click to see the full list. I also give stats on all of the closings and existing inventory. The average size complex is 124 units, 93% occupancy in the entire northern half of Florida. Here's a number of sales stats and some startling information about the top owners in the markets and what they own. At the very top of my website, this is how you can buy my book. This is validation about me and my team and what we can do for you on the marketing side when you go to sell. Here's how you contact us. Some more information about how to get started and excel in this business, but the meat and bones of this website is in the resources section. I will first point out some of the more popular sections. Popular resources. Popular resources are a number of reports I've done over the years that were the most popular among investors, and in no particular order. Some of the more interesting buttons are the inventory stats for conventional or market rate apartments, student housing, and affordable. Let's just visit conventional first. All of the market stats we have on our website are updated every 6 months. This one is for the end of third quarter 2021. You have conventional apartments, everything over 10 units, everything over 100, and everything under 100. As you can see how this is laid out, there are 1,354 total apartment complexes over 10 units. The number of units, the average unit size of each complex, average ages, how many owners, 327 owners, own the 558 complexes in Jacksonville, which is 1.7 complexes complexes per owner. 282 of those assets, or 51%, are over 40 years old. Here are the ones between 10 and 40 years old, and the ones that were built in the last 10 years. Another interesting section is how many complexes were sold since 2018. Very interesting that 35% of apartment complexes over 10 units in the northern half of Florida have already sold since 2018. Another random cool button that investors liked was North Florida's top 10 owners in conventional. I'll actually list how many units and how many complexes each of these investors own and total it. The top 10 own 31,000 units. Here I compare student housing in Gainesville and Tallahassee, are the top 2 Florida student housing markets. This covers every student housing complex over 10 units, and the number of complexes that exist, units, beds, average size, average bed size, age, how many owners own those assets, and of course the number of sold assets. Look at the startling difference. Only 6 complexes have sold over 10 units in the Gainesville market, while 35 assets have sold in Tallahassee in the same time frame. Other interesting stats: 2020 top property sales by volume. When you go into this button, it'll show you here are the top 10 overall North Florida sales by volume, which actual complex it was. Creek at Deerwood, $97 million. The 2021, of course, will update at the end of the year. Here are the top 10 conventional sales, top 10 affordable sales, and so on and so forth. Here's the distribution of owners by state and where they're based out of. So all of the folks that own all of the units in each of these highlighted markets is listed here in a graph. 62% of Florida apartment complexes are owned by those based in Florida. Next up, we have the 2020 inventory turnover, which shows what percentage of apartment complexes sell per year. For instance, the overall average is about 7.8% in the year 2020. My guess is in 2021, this will probably drop down to between 5 and 6%. This is all existing market rate over 10 units, affordable, and student housing. Another good piece of information is the market economics on each market we cover. These are all the most popular stats: population, unemployment rate, wage growth, crime index. Awesome resource for each of the markets. All the other buttons on this page that I didn't click on, how to earn the highest sale price, importance of brand, are all really interesting reports that you should click on. Coming back up to the top, I have a templates and guides section. Here I have a list of awesome templates like cover letter to an LOI, an actual LOI example. This is a template that I get to sellers when I'm going to list a property to list all the different things I need from them in order to have a successful sale. Here's a cool buyer due diligence checklist. If you're buying a small property with funky leases, here's a multifamily estoppel sample that you may look at. Another popular template is how to win competitive bids, an actual 10-step program including videos. Going back to the resources section, here's how we market if you're one of our customers. This goes directly to the YouTube channel. The Beau Knows Biz section is a really cool assimilation of questions and answers that I've gotten over time. For instance, what constitutes an apartment asset as student housing in terms of financing? Here's your answer: 40%. I don't want to overpay for a property, so I want to make my offer really low. Is that a good idea? Yeah, no. But probably the most popular section of my website is the individual markets that I cover. And this is where, even if you don't own or buy in these markets, you want to pay attention to the information I have here so that you know what to gather in your markets for dominance. Let's look at the Jacksonville market as an example. Here's all the cities within the Jacksonville market that these stats go to. I have it assembled by conventional assets. There's only a few student housing in Jacksonville, affordable housing, and then here's a great general column that has all kinds of information that may also include information from each of these different disciplines. The most popular button on each market is the trailing 24-month sales, where I literally track every single closing of market, affordable, or student student over 10 units in the respective market. And then I have breakdowns on trailing 24-month stats and trailing 12-month stats. For instance, here are all the stats for every closing over 10 units in Jacksonville. The name of the complex, address, the classification, A, B+, B, B-, and so forth. Whether it's a market rate, affordable, or student housing closing, the date it closed, the age of construction, close price, number of units, number of beds, closing price a unit, closing price a bed, the rents at the time of sale, total square footage, price per square foot sale price, and gross rent multiples. The titles of each of these columns is at the very top for reference. The way the stats are done, for example, if you look at the trailing 12 months, here is all classes lumped together. There were 82 sales done in the trailing 12 months, median age, $2 billion in volume, number of units, $106,000 a unit median close price, rents averaged $974 at time of close with a 9.47 gross rent multiple. Then I have it broken down by class. Here's all the Class A stats. Here is the lumped in Class B stats that have subcategories. So there are 28 B class sales that are made up of 5 B+, 16 B, and 7 B-. These add up to the 28. The same goes for Class C, and affordable housing has its own section. Each market has this same section right here. We also track year-to-year sale data for each market. Here's 100+ units in Jacksonville, under 100 units, and you can watch the progression, number of closings, median price a unit closing, gross rent multiples, and how they've increased or decreased over time. We've even tracked the 2019 and 2020 property tax stats so that you know what to put in your pro formas for property tax purposes. We have not done the 2020 to 2021 values yet because they're not out yet. But for instance, if you were buying 100+ units in Jacksonville, the average closing price to assessed value is 87% average and 85% here. Affordable housing, which is a separate section, is running 71%. If you were buying in Ocala, anything over 10 units, they were being assessed for much less. That could change next year. We also track top 10 employers for each of the marketplaces we cover. More interesting information, for instance, on conventional, we list the largest properties in each market. We list the top 10 owners in each market. We even show you every single property over 100 units in the entire market. I tried to tell you I don't play around when it comes to stats. The more I can know and perfect information in my markets as a broker, the more resourceful and useful I am to investors. Likewise, the more an investor can master all the information in my website for their markets, the more powerful they'll be and the more difficult they'll be to compete against in multiple offer situations. I'm not gonna lie, this kind of information is a ton of work, hundreds of hours, and is a daily discipline to keep our records updated. So for those of you who invest in the northern half of Florida, I've already done the work. If you invest in other parts of Florida or other parts of the US, my first piece of advice is to find another broker who assembles this kind of information. That way all the work is done. If there's not a broker that you can find that has this kind of information, then you'll have to self-source it. But I would encourage you, if you're the principal, you don't do that work. Hire someone else at a lower dollar per hour value that can assemble this information with you watching over them and giving them direction. There are people you can find on WeWork or students in real estate schools at colleges that will be happy to do this kind of information. Yes, you'll have to pay them. There will be a cost, but that cost is a fraction of the success that you'll get from that information. For those of you that do invest in the northern half of Florida, if you see any errors or information that isn't correct on my website, please reach out. I provide this as a resource to myself and to the investors I work with, and the most accurate information is what I'm after so each of us can perform better in this industry. I hope this video brought you some value, and if it did, please give me a like right down there below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you're notified of each of my videos that come out. See you guys in the next one.